Ambulance, 2022, Summary. The film opens in Los Angeles with the young brothers Will and Danny together. Afghanistan Marine veteran William Will James Sharp is trying to get on the line with medical insurance agents because he needs money for the experimental cancer surgery of his wife, Amy. Will receive no help at all, leaving him with few options left. They also have a baby, Big Man 8, to look after. After talking to a medical insurance agent, Will tells his wife, "Insurance coming through." Amy laughs and answers, "I lose faith in this world on a daily basis, but not in you, though." Will goes off for another job interview, a warehouse job, forklift driver. Amy tells him they will celebrate when Will gets back. Will goes to see his brother Danny, an infamous bank robber, in his warehouse. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, Camille Cam Thompson, a young EMT paramedic of LA Memorial Hospital, arrives with her new partner Scott at the scene of a car crash, where a little girl named Lindsay has been impaled by a fence post. Cam helps Lindsay calm down as they cut the fence down to free her. They then take the Lindsay with her mother into an ambulance and bring Lindsay to a hospital. Will arrives at Danny's home, where he sees multiple stolen cars. Danny arrives, and they hug, happy to see each other. They go to Danny's break room, and Danny offers Will a cup of coffee. Will tells him he needs $231,000 for the experimental surgery of his wife, Amy. Danny mentions his group is to rob a bank that very same day, First Federal downtown, an amount of $32 million. Danny needs another man, 4 inside and 1 driver. He needs Will. Will explains that he just needs a loan, some cash, or maybe a small job. Later, Cam and Scott go for lunch, where Scott informs her that Lindsay is going to pull through, but Cam says she doesn't care because she just goes about her job like any other, forming no attachments. Scott points out that he has heard of Cam's reputation. While she is the best paramedic in the city, nobody else wants to work with her. Meanwhile, 2 police officers, Zach and Mark, are talking about Zach's crush, a bank teller named Kim. They drive over to the bank for Zach to ask him out for a date. Mark encourages him to go along with it. Will joins Danny and his goons as they arrive at the bank. Once Zach and Mark arrive at the bank, Danny and the others have already held the other employees at gunpoint. Zach finds the bank door is locked. Danny, pretending to be the bank manager, opens the door, and Zach asks Danny why they are closed. Danny tells him they are just doing some transfer at the back. Zach just wants to open a savings account. Zach asks Danny if the woman next to Big Bob can assist him in opening his savings account and asks the last name of Kim. Danny tells him that her full name is Kim Park. Zach then approaches Kim and tells her that he has been at the bank a few times, and if he got the chance, he would ask Kim out for a date. Zach sees her actual name is Kim Daniels. He then realizes that something is off. Danny quickly pulls his gun out and has his guys draw theirs and force Zach to play it cool so that they can get what they want and flee. Danny instructs Zach to smile and wave at his partner outside. They then start putting the $32 million in the bags. Outside the bank, Mark helps the criminal's driver, Rondazzo, with his truck after it stalls. Mark sees Zach being held hostage by the bank robbers. As he is about to open fire, Rondazzo attempts to run Mark over, but he jumps out of the way in time. A gunfight ensues between the other bank robbers and police. The Special Investigations Section, SIS, of the LAPD arrives and joins the gunfight. Meanwhile, Scott asks Cam if she has a boyfriend. Cam tells him he has a boyfriend, a doctor at Mount Sinai, as they hear the gunfire. Zach attempts to fight Danny off, and Will shoot Zach, leaving Zach to die. Danny's guys are killed one by one. The brothers attempt to exit through the back of the building but find it surrounded by police. Mark finds his injured partner Zach and asks for help using his radio. Cam and Scott hear Mark. They then go to see Zach. Mark encourages Zach to continue his plan on dating Kim Daniels. Cam and Scott arrive and take Zach into the ambulance. As they leave, Danny stops the ambulance at gunpoint, then hijacks the ambulance. At gunpoint, Danny instructs Cam to do what he says. He introduces himself as Daniel, but he prefers the name Danny. They start to drive away and are blocked off by a squad of cop cars, but Cam is able to send them away after they find that Zach is being treated in there. Mark finds Scott beaten on the floor. Scott mentions that Will and Danny hijacked the ambulance. SIS Captain Monroe arrives on the scene and asks them what happened. After a chase that leads them into an alleyway, Cam makes a desperate attempt to escape by firing an extinguisher at Danny, but she is quickly recaptured by Danny. Meanwhile, FBI Special Agent Anson Clark, who oversees a division specializing in bank robberies, receives a text message about the bank robbery. The car chase continues until the ambulance stops at a dead end, with the ambulance covering the dead-end sign. The police cars following them are not aware that they are reaching a dead end, so their cars crash and fly down below. Danny calls Poppy, a gang leader, and asks for help, but Poppy declines, saying that Danny is on his own now. Poppy changes his mind when Danny offers him $8 million as a payment. Danny calls Castro, a gang member, and offers him $10,000 just to follow his orders. Clark informs them that the man behind the robbery is Danny Sharp. He's been robbing banks since he was 17, and they used to be friends. Clark also tells them that his father was a legend, a bona fide psychotic who killed 6 bank managers and 2 tellers during the 1990s. When Zach starts bleeding out, Cam tries to stop the bleeding but doesn't know how, since she's not a doctor. She contacts her ex-boyfriend, Colin Walters, who is a doctor, and contacts 2 other surgeons and puts her on video chat to guide her through it, as she now gets help from Will, who has experience in combat triage. They are forced to dig through Zach's stomach and try to remove the bullets. At one point, Zach wakes up and starts freaking out, causing Will to punch him and knock him out. When Cam tries to remove the bullet from Zach's spleen, it ruptures and must be pinched down with Cam's hair clip. They manage to keep the bleeding under control from there. After controlling the bleeding, Cam asks Will if his wife knows that Will is a bank robber. Will answers, "Why are you asking?" Then Cam responds, "Situational awareness, that's all." Monroe contacts Colin and learns that Zach is dead. The snipers are ready to take down Will and Danny when Clark learns from Cam that Zach is still alive. The snipers shoot at them, and the ambulance takes a few hits, but the ambulance is able to outrun it and cause other cop cars to crash with their maneuvers. Monroe then instructs them to fall back and give him an assessment. After Danny says they don't need Cam anymore, he attempts to shoot Cam, but Will intervenes, causing the brothers to fight about their predicament. Clark learns Will is a war hero, and he has a family. Clark requests him to pull over, but Will declines. Amy calls, and she is very happy that Will got the job, and they'll celebrate when he gets back. Will explains that the interview went long, and they needed somebody to start that day, so he was hired immediately. Amy tells him she is proud of him, not just for taking care of everything with the insurance and the money, but for being a man. Will and Danny partially reconcile and listen to the song Sailing by Christopher Cross to ease the tension. The brothers drive the ambulance down to the Los Angeles River, where Danny starts shooting at a chopper before Will drives them further. Helicopters continue to chase the ambulance as Danny shoots at them. Will and Danny then drive in the opposite lane of the interstate, creating multiple accidents. They make it to their destination, where Castro begins to spray paint the ambulance, and Monroe and his team are preparing to take them on. After doing the spray paint, Castro drives an ambulance similar to the bank robber's ambulance in a direction instructed by Danny. The police stop the ambulance and arrest Castro. Poppy's son Roberto detonates explosives in a moving ambulance, injuring some police officers and destroying some police cars. Mark sees Roberto running and pursues him. Poppy's henchmen send a car with a machine gun and a replica of a person as a driver into the police crowd, firing upon all of them, and some bullets hit Monroe. They try to do some cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, but Monroe is dead on the spot. Poppy watches the live coverage of the shooting and says, "Danny's special." In the meantime, Mark catches Roberto. After a brief fight, Mark causes Roberto to shoot himself in the head, which Poppy witnesses on the news. Will and Danny arrive at Poppy's place with the ambulance to deliver his cut of the money. Meanwhile, in the ambulance, Cam tells Zach that they are hostages, but Will is helping them. Poppy tells Danny that they are a family, 50-50. Danny and Will are about to leave Poppy's place, but Poppy stops them. Poppy tells them that Zach and Cam stay, they brought them into his inner sanctum, so they must stay and be a part of Poppy's gang. Will declines, and Danny and Will then argue about their problematic situation. After Will and Danny argue, Will tells Poppy that he is not leaving them, Zach and Cam. Poppy then orders his gang to prepare their guns. The two brothers work together and kill Poppy's henchmen, then Danny kills Poppy. Meanwhile, Zach gives Cam his gun, just in case. Will runs to the ambulance, and in a panic, Cam accidentally shoots Will. Danny finds Will shot and thinks he was shot by another gangster. Danny drives the ambulance towards a hospital. In the ambulance, the injured Will takes a bundle of the heist money and hands it to Cam, saying, "Give this to my wife needs this." They arrive at the LA Memorial Hospital, but cops surround them. Inside the ambulance, Cam does some cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, to Will, but it is not working. Will is fading. Cam needs to shock him. Outside the ambulance, the snipers are looking for some clear shots, so they can put bullets into the bank robbers. Clark arrives and tells them he knows the bank robber leader, he can talk him down. Danny finds a gun and realizes that it is a cop's gun. Danny points the gun at Zach's head. Since he is the only cop there, he intends to kill him for shooting Will, but Cam says that he shot Will. Danny then chokes Cam, saying that she should be dead. Clark tells Danny that they will blow his head off if he doesn't come out. Danny says to Cam that they are going to go outside, and he is going to shoot her in the head live on TV, and they will die together. Danny opens the door partially and tells Clark to tell them not to shoot. He tells Clark that his brother Will is dead. Just as he steps out with Cam, a gunshot rings out. Will has shot Danny through the back. Will is pulled out of the ambulance, and they handcuff him. Danny tells Will that he is sorry before he dies. Amy arrives on the scene and becomes hysterical when she sees Will. She shouts, "Somebody help him." Despite Cam being held back, she does what she can to help Will survive. They then take Will to the hospital. Cam speaks to Amy and discreetly leaves the heist money in the baby's car seat, as Will had earlier asked Cam to leave for her. Cam then meets her ex-boyfriend, Colin Walters. Will is taken into custody and monitored at the hospital. Amy watches him from the window with their baby, and Will manages to wave at them. They ask Zach who shot him. He points at Will's photo and says Will saved his life. Cam goes to visit Lindsay and holds her hand as she wakes up. Lindsay tells her, "Don't let go." Cam then leaves the hospital.